Last week in the Good Morning Walk, I was out in the field saying, hey, look, there's this rumor that Rishi Sunak might make an announcement about a general election to time with the inflation rises. Turned out that rumor was actually quite true. But if you had time traveled back to that moment and said to me, oh, by the way, this is how bad the launch of this campaign is going. It is so bad, it is being cast as the new season of The Thick of It. And you were just to tell me about some of the gaffes that have happened, I would probably not believe you. Because there is no way in your right mind, if you could have gone back a week or so and told someone about these events that are unfolding, there was no way no one would believe you to the extent. Maybe they could go, okay, maybe one of these things, but okay, you're telling me all these things are going to happen or going to happen in the future. I can't believe all these, just gaff after gaff after gaff is going to happen. But to just continue our continuing encapsulation of just how bad this campaign is going, we are going to go over what must be, to continue with the thick of it theme, the absolutely omnishambles visit of Rishi Sunak that he made to Northern Ireland. Because not only was it full of gaffes, bad political imagery with him, outside the Titanic Museum, people having no idea where even this press conference is going to happen, with apparently scenes of volunteers, news, and even other ministers in Northern Ireland running around having no idea where this announcement is going to take place. I wouldn't have believed you if it had not have happened. And oh boy, was this absolutely terrible. And it does not bode well if you are going to go into a general election campaign, because this really does set out how bad this campaign from the Tory party is going to be. But before we do get into this, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there's the link to my Patreon page, the One Off Foundation, where you can buy me coffee, buy me coffee. And of course, as always, there is the YouTube thank you button, the Pony Club down below as well. And of course, as always, you can click the like and share button as well. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment down below as well. So, where else better to turn than to the old local pages, reporting on just what an absolutely terrible visit this was. So, this is over to the Belfast Live with the title of Captaining a Sinking Ship Inside Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's Shambolic Visit to Northern Ireland. Oh dear. So, as Prime Minister Rishi Sunak arrived in Northern Ireland for what the bookies and pollsters are predicting could be his farewell tour, get my teeth in, right? This day could not have been more of a shambles for CCHQ. Having been informed by the Conservative Party that the visit would be taking place at a 4th floor office block in the Titanic Quarter, reporters arrived to find no PM and no press conference. So imagine that. You are there for a kickoff of an election campaign. You have called, like, this is where you are going to host it, by the Conservative Party. You're a reporter. You turn up. No Prime Minister, no press conference. just honestly, like, here's the thing. If Rishi Sunak wanted to, become such a fool, then I would gladly aid in his campaign to help him quest to become the biggest clown of the United Kingdom. I just charge a very exorbitant sum for my services. I'm sure Sunak could afford it, but Anyway, this continues. So after then a flurry of frantic phone calls, we were then directed to a car park half a mile away from where we had originally been sent to. And once again, there were no signs of the Prime Minister or his officials. So you're told to go to the first one, no sign of him. You phone up, you're told to go to the second location, no sign of him. Is it third time's a charm? So, several more phone calls and a WhatsApp location pin later, we were met by the Secretary of State Spad, who then walked us through the industrial complex to the waterfront. There, to our surprise, the Prime Minister was having the time of his life, zipping up and down the water on an electric speedboat under the watchful eyes of the national media. So, having found the correct location, you'd have been forgiven to think that all would go to plan. Oh, and whenever anyone says anything like that, after explaining just how hard it was to actually find the location after being told where to go, things can only get worse. So, having found the correct location, you would have been forgiven for thinking that it would all go to plan from here on in. But in true thick of it style, it was like a clown running through a minefield. This is only like a national general election campaign, people. To be a fly on, honestly, after this is all over, we are going to get all these after action reports of just what was going on inside number 10. And honestly, I just think some of the things we are going to hear are just going to be absolutely unbelievable, but we're seeing it play out right in front of us. If this is how bad it is from the outside looking in, how bad is it from the inside looking out? Anyway, while the national media captured the Prime Minister's aquatic adventure, local reporters were then prevented from filming the Prime Minister disembarking from the boat, but eventually were then frog marched to the other side of the road by the Conservative Party press team to a location where we could merely watch through a fence. Wow. Keeping away the local media. Once again, not a good look. But okay, they also know this because there have been lots of instances over the past couple of weeks where we have seen that, well, the local media were prepared to ask a lot more hard questions than the national media were. I wonder how close the local media is going to be able to get to the Prime Minister throughout the rest of this campaign, because this also sets a very interesting precedent for the rest of the campaign indeed. So, eventually, when the British media had then wrapped up, we were then allowed to cross the road and get set up. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister was then handed a life jacket and directed to go down the gangway and back onto the boat he had just come off so the local crews could get the shot that they were prevented from filming only minutes beforehand. That just seems to have been a terrible PR stunt, but there you go. So after the reporters then been directed to set up and prepare for a huddle with the Prime Minister and the Secretary of State, the member of the PM's team then came barging up the gangway to inform everyone that it was only UTV and the BBC who were permitted to be in this area, and that everyone else had to leave until the broadcasters had conducted their one-on-one interviews, in a move that has now sparked outcry from all the press. Just how shambolic is this? And this is, we've barely even started. And this is how bad it is. Honestly, how bad is the rest of this campaign going to go? So eventually, it was then agreed that the press conference would take place, first followed then by the one-to-one interviews, and at that point, the PM and Secretary of State emerged from the speedboat once more to take questions. When asked the Prime Minister if he If given that we were in the Titanic quarter, if he was captaining a sinking ship, it may have elicited a smirk from the Secretary of State. But in reality, the Prime Minister's answers were full of the usual bluff and bluster. After a week in which Rishi Sunak stood like a drowned rat outside Downing Street as he announced the election in pouring down rain with DRMs, sorry, with Dreams, Things Can Only Get Better blasted in the background in a nod to the 1997 New Labour victory, and Sky News' Darren McCaffrey was then forcibly removed from the Conservative Party event by security live on air, we could very well see a job opening soon in the Prime Minister's PR team. You could not make this up. You could not make this up. But it's there. It happened. And it's just what? Honestly, it just goes. And we've got 6 weeks of this. We've got 6 weeks of this. And I'll tell you now, he ain't firing the PR team. Like, he ain't firing the PR team this close, because you've got to then scramble to find and to get a new team. And to get a new team in this close will cost Sunak an absolute arm and a leg. Not, of course, that he can't afford it, but changing, should we say, changing your horses this early in the game does not bode well for the rest of the campaign. But there you go. Let me know what you think down below, because I can't believe this is happening. That this, as I keep on saying, just seems like a brand new series of the thick of it. And in reality, this entire general election is just a con or some elaborate stunt being pulled by the BBC to announce the filming of the new series. After all, only the BBC were allowed to film some of those locations. So maybe it's right. Maybe this is just a new series of the thick of it, and it's not a general election campaign at all. Maybe the Tory rebels did succeed in holding off the general election. But oh my word, we've got more weeks to go from this, and hey, they are right. Things can only get better. And we are going to just see probably just more and more funny moments from this. So maybe in a couple of weeks' time, we'll be able to ask, what was your funny moment during this election campaign? But of course, as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.